All right, so it is February. We're towards the end of February here, and just wanted to give like an update on kind of the progress and everything that we're doing right now with the next zombie book. We've decided to go with the title "Strange Encounters of a Humankind." So it's "Strange Encounters of a Humankind: A Zombie Bedtime Story," because that's the series name. Me and Isaac are still running through the story itself, and like he's gone through and done a bunch of just grammar based errors and corrected those, and then looking at like, all right, that doesn't make sense, this sentence doesn't make sense, this is out of place, you need to explain this better. And now we're going through that process and just slowly whittling that down. And the hope is towards the end of next month, so towards the end of March we need to have this done. Then we have to get that off to the editor. Then we have to go through all the corrections that they give us back. At the same time, we have Zach doing the roughs for the art. Me and him have had a couple meetings. I mean, I line them out. And then from these big ones, we like to do a lot of mini images that just kind of highlight certain things that just to us would seem very cool visually. So we do mini images of those, and then it's whether or not it needs a full image. So the justification for that full image, one, because it's costing us money, but two, is it going to resonate with the reader or not? If it's not going to, I mean, we don't need to highlight it. So I think for this one we have 10 to 12 full images, and then we have about 12 mini images. And as Zach's actually come over today, we're gonna cover a couple of things. That is, I give him the rough, and then we're doing some different things this time around. So we have, for the last couple books, worked in Google Docs. It's easier for us because we can do the corrections and all that versus sending things back and forth. That is a huge advantage compared to what we were doing before, which is like you'd do it and then you'd send the whole document over. So it's made everything so much smoother. But now we've added him to the Google Doc, and now I can highlight the image so that he can go through the story and read it and be like, okay, here's the surrounding information. We talked about this being like, one of the notes is Caleb's at a big fence. And then we kind of talk about what that is, and he writes notes. But then from there, we need to let him actually read the story itself so that he can understand a little bit better the context around that. So that's helped. And I've actually added a couple more mini images, just going through some of those things and looking through as we've done the corrections. We're like, oh, that'd be a really cool mini image. And I'll have to get to that today with him, so we'll cover some of that stuff. But the hope, like I said, to get it off to the editor. He's going to be working on the images in the meantime. We are whittling down the corrections with that right now. The hope is towards the end of next month, he's going to go full tilt on the full images, and then we'll have about a month and a half to get that done, and then I'm going to start formatting the book. The push is for the end of May. Like, we have to have the book in our hands because we're going to go to the Rosebud Festival. Is it Rosebud Festival? I think it's Rosebud Festival here in Broken Arrow. We live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Or I guess we technically live in Broken Arrow, but it's a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And this year has been the big push, and I've talked about this before, for us to go to different conventions and things like that. He's going to Tokyo Tulsa, which is kind of like a mini Comic-Con, and he's going to share part of his booth there. Then we want to do this Rosebud one. This one will have to pay for a booth. So we're testing the waters this year with that. So that's the first one. Then we want to go to the Tokyo, which I think is in July. And then there's one or two in the fall. We've kind of tossed the idea around. Hopefully pop, like Oklahoma pop culture is what it's for. But hopefully we can get into that one. This past year was in the fall, and I think it was their first year. So hopefully we can get into that one. And then we'll look at some other ones. So that way we'll have 3 zombie books, the witch book to start. And then the other big push is getting out the sock book that is for little kids. this year, and then the third book we're going to try and get out this year is actually one that we're going to be partnering with Zach, our artist, to do. He's pitched the story. We did that at a book signing. We talked about it like 2-3 weeks ago, and it's a really good story, and it was interesting to go back and forth with him because he throws out these ideas. I'm highly visual, so I'll see what he's talking about and then be like, oh, it'd be cool if you do this, and just throwing out some ideas that he hadn't thought about and be like, oh, that was really cool, let's put that there, let's piece it together. He's working on the outline. He has to do the images for this stuff, so I mean, he's juggling a lot. Once he gets us the outline, me and Isaac will go through, we'll add a bunch of stuff, and then we'll start molding this story into something. And my guess is this probably won't be out till November or December. Giving us enough time really to make this a very, very good story. But for what he pitched, it's going to be awesome. It sounds really good. And the difference that we're trying to take a different style instead of just like what we do right now, which is you'll have the story and then every handful you'll have either an image, or with some of the other books where it's like images almost on every page. We're not going to do that. He is an anime comic book guy, so we're going to try and do a hybrid book comic where we'll have maybe a couple pages will be really just word heavy, and then it'll meld into him basically doing comic book panels and showing the action of something, where we can still kind of narrate it a little bit, but visually you're going to get what's going on. And I think it's going to be really, really cool. I'm really excited. He just sent over the initial sketch of what the thing is going to be. Essentially, it's a creature, and we haven't quite decided on whether or not it's like a guardian. It's kind of like a guardian angel, but not. But it's basically a creature that's protecting this kid, that's helping this kid out, and all the different trials and tribulations kind of he goes through. And the monster itself looks pretty gnarly. It's actually based off this earlier image that he did years ago, which was actually one of the things that drew me to his art style, and that I mentioned multiple times when he was doing Aniko for our Undyed Nightmare book. It was kind of a reference for that, so it'll be really cool to see this come to light. And with that one, because it'll be a partner thing, we won't be paying him for the art. It'll just be a collaboration, and then but once we get the book published and all that, everything's 50-50 between us, and that'll be cool because he'll be invested beyond just doing the art itself and wanting to do well, and us trying to include him the way we do now. It'll be really, I mean, a joint project in terms of him helping mold and shape everything with the story and not just the images. So really looking forward to that. Right now, kind of some of the biggest struggles are just putting out content, where I've been using the Storyz app, which is awesome, to animate some of our images, but pumping out content, you end up running into this thing where you're just kind of doing the same images over and over or something like that. And that's why I try to mix it up with the Storyz app, because the stuff that we're working on right now isn't quite ready to show yet. We've been talking about it, but we don't have like we have some roughs, we just don't have the really good images that we want to showcase yet. So and we don't even have the idea for the cover yet, which is the other big thing. I reached out to a guy, Mr. Revenge, on Instagram. I actually wanted him to do the cover because we're taking his style and having Zach kind of replicate it for this book, and never heard back from him, so that kind of didn't work out. But because of that, I just don't know what I want to do with the cover yet. We do want to mix it up because we kind of have had these certain, last couple books have been almost like a collage type image. We don't want to do that for this one, just to, like I said, mix it up. So looking at potential ideas, going on Instagram and looking at all that, but running into kind of a part right now where we don't know what to put out, but trying to get better at that. The problem is I do content for a video game YouTube channel that I have, and then content for the personal training business, that's just my main job. So trying to like diversify what I'm doing, but trying to make sure each gets its own amount of attention is difficult. And some days we just, honestly, we don't even touch the book. We don't do anything. So on those days, it's like, well, what do you talk about? And I follow Gary Vaynerchuk a lot, and one of the things he talks about with some of that stuff where people are like, well, I'm not that interested, I know what to talk about. Talk about the fact that you don't think you're that interesting, or whatever it may be, or that you didn't do anything today. So trying to get better at that. Trying to highlight more of the videos. Like I said, it can be a struggle with trying to do all the other stuff. And the harder part is my writing partner doesn't do any of that stuff. So it really is on me. But I'm doing content with all these other things. So, and he doesn't like to do the camera stuff. And that's the big thing. If that's not your thing, then you're not going to do it, right? You're not going to be invested in it. So hopefully we can push more with that. And I think as we get more projects, it's just easier to talk about these different things, right, that we're doing. And but part of the big thing is not just those things, talking about the process that we're going through, which is why I'm trying to shoot some of these videos and kind of explain how we do what we do, some of the hiccups that we're running into, some of the upcoming things that we're talking about. I need to start covering some of the pitches that we have, because they're really good when somebody pitches an idea and we kind of just start spitballing stuff, and seeing what it morphs into is always a blast. But that is it for right now. I should have more news here soon, and then I'll share kind of more details as we come along with them. I'm hoping to showcase some of the images and stuff like that. I'll put our Instagram, which is usually where we do a lot of our stuff, more so than anywhere else. I'll put a link for our Instagram in the description box, so if you guys want to check that out. The harder space that we're dealing with too right now, kids books, it's weird. As I look at more things, there's a lot of people putting out kids books, but kids books are an odd space where like the kid themselves typically isn't buying, they're not buying a book, depending on what age group, right? So we might start, and we've talked about it, like moving into adult books, but kids books is a space where the parents really gonna have to buy it. Kids don't want to necessarily buy books all the time, especially if they've maybe earned some money or something like that. They're not going to spend money on that. They're going to move more towards electronics, and if they're going to do media stuff, it's going to be like comic books or Pokemon cards or whatever it may be. So that's the other thing that we talk about and we kind of deal with. Trying to go digital with some of them, which is a whole other thing with Kindle Publishing Direct, and trying to make sure we're on Kindle and all of that as well. That's other things that we try to deal with and make sure we're doing, which is something I actually have to do this summer. Put all our books, not all of our, we have two of them, no, one right now is in, I guess the other one what ended up being, but one's in the Kindle Publishing, another one was put in a digital form, but it was horrible, because that was the one I did with Ex Libra. I've done another video on my gaming channel about them. They're not that good. They keep hitting me up too to sell me a package to publish a book, which is a total ripoff, and I need to talk about that stuff more. So I'll pump some of those videos out as well. But if you guys like the video, hit the like button for me. If you want to continue to follow along with our content here at Oddball Publishing, and just kind of our process and everything else that we're doing, we'd really appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button for us, and check back soon for more videos.